Okay, so welcome to this afternoon's session. The sign-in is in the chat box. If you can access that and sign in as and when you can. The recording has just started, as I've already just informed you. And just a reminder of the social distancing, especially for you guys that are on furlough. So it's really important that you keep yourself at home, nice and safe, and only obviously go out for the essentials. So make sure you do get that exercise in, especially with it being nice weather. Get out there, enjoy the weather, but obviously keep your distance and keep washing your hands. Okay, so today's session is English. So this week we've covered speaking and listening. And we mainly covered the first part of the speaking and listening, which is delivering presentation. So this session is for formal and informal discussions. So the second part of your task is going to be to have a group discussion. So by the end of this, hopefully you'll know what to expect in terms of the discussion, who's going to be involved, how it's going to be done, and what sort of language and how you can prepare yourself for this. So basically what to expect, exactly the same as I went through on the other part of the session. It's all about preparing. So by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So preparation is key in everything, but especially in this, because you can't just go straight into it and expect to take part in a discussion when you haven't planned for it. So in that formal discussion, it will be a group, and it'll be yourself and other learners. So there will be a minimum of 3. So there has to be you and at least 2 other learners. But the groups don't tend to go any bigger than 4, because obviously I'm going to have to assess it, and there's only so much I can do at once. So I would probably look to do a group of 3 or 4 would be ideal. For those that are doing the legacy qualification, so that's learners that have been on for quite a while on the apprenticeship, your discussion part will be 15 minutes because you've got a shorter presentation. However, for the new qualification, those that have not long been on the apprenticeship, your discussion part will only be about 6 minutes because you are going to have to deliver a longer presentation. So you will get a set topic, so it's not something that you get to choose. Everybody obviously taking part in the assessment that day will have the same topic. I mean, you will discuss that topic, and that will be obviously set by the exam board. And the planning time, you will get the same allocation as mentioned on the other session that we did earlier on this week. And as I've already mentioned, preparation is key. So using that planning time wisely, looking at the topic, maybe doing a little bit of research, because obviously you need to get across your opinions and have a big impact in that discussion. And you can't just rely on other people's ideas. You need to go in there with your own ideas and your own opinions and your own facts and statistics for you to then back up your opinions, because people might not agree with you. So if you can have something to kind of back up what you're saying and why you're saying it, it's really good. It puts you in a really good position. It makes you feel a lot more confident as well. So notes, obviously, for that discussion is key. Making sure that they're just bullet points, so not masses and masses of writing, because you don't want to be pausing and reading through all, massive amount of notes. You just want to have some bullet points. You can quickly look down and be like, oh yeah, I was going to talk about that, or I'll add that in, and that kind of relates to what that person's talking, so I'll just give them that fact and what I read about. Okay, so that's what to expect from the assessment. Whilst I'll be assessing you, we've kind of touched on this earlier on in the week, and that is the exact assessment criteria that I'll be looking for. But just to break it down to make it a little bit easier for you. So it's basically the assessment is there and it's designed for you to communicate information, ideas, and your opinions clearly. So it's just using your everyday English skills and showing that you can communicate that information, hopefully on the research that you've done and your ideas clearly to the other participants in the group. So you need to express your opinions and your arguments, and you need to support this with some evidence. So that's where your planning or preparation is key, so you can have some of that evidence in there. Because as soon as you get the topic, you're going to have a general idea of it. May be something you're not familiar with at all, so you might need to do a little bit more research. It may be something you've had some experience in, but you might not know actual facts or statistics about it. You may have your own kind of experiences from it. And again, you might want to back that up and see if anyone else has had similar experience. So it's all about that research and backing up whatever your argument or opinion is going to be in that discussion. So throughout the discussion, you need to make sure that you use an effective language, and obviously that is appropriate to the topic. So obviously that is going to depend on what the topic is, but generally it will be quite a broad topic to give you plenty to talk about, and it's just using your English skills effectively. You need to make sure that you have play a big part in the discussion. So you don't want to take over the discussion, but you need to have as much involvement as you can for me to be able to tick off and assess you in everything in all the areas. So you need to make sure that what you're saying is relevant to the conversation. So you don't want to be just talking about something completely random. So for example, if the topic was on healthy eating, or like say for instance, how bad fast food can be for you, you wouldn't then want to talk about what you eat at home, because that's not necessarily relating directly to fast food. So just make sure it's relevant. And obviously it's constructive, so it is contributing to the discussion, and help each other out as well. So maybe aim a particular question or opinion to someone that hasn't said a lot, and you can obviously help other people out and get them a little bit more involved. You might need to adapt what you're going to say to obviously suit the discussion. So you may be sitting with 2 or 3 other people that have all agreed on the subject and you've disagreed. Doesn't necessarily mean you can't disagree, but you might want to adapt your opinions. And once you've heard all their opinions, do you still disagree? Or actually, you could maybe say, well, I did come prepared. I was actually going to disagree. However, now I've heard all your arguments, I actually probably do agree, and this is why. So you can obviously just adapting as and where you need to. So interject and redirect where possible. So it might be that someone has a different opinion, so you can obviously don't interrupt them, but once they're finished, you can obviously give them a counter argument if that's what you feel and if that is your opinion. And obviously you can redirect something to one of the other participants to say, oh, you said this earlier, or what did you mean by that? Or you could maybe ask a little bit more detail, especially if it's relating or if it's counteracting what your idea and opinion is. You might want to get a little bit more from them. So you might need to obviously redirect who you specifically want to speak to, but where possible, try and obviously address the whole group so everyone can take part. So that's the main kind of criteria that you're going to be assessed on, and the main elements that you need to think about when you're in that discussion. So you need to get yourself involved and have plenty of notes to be able to make that big contribution. Okay, so first of today's video is just looking at the different types of formal and informal English that can be used. So this video is more focused on someone that's written an informal kind of email, and then it's been changed into a more formal. So it will also help you with your writing exam, because you will have a formal and informal task. But it's quite clear that obviously it's spoken, so it's good to see what sort of vocabulary is used for the formal kind of more formal writing or speaking. So have a watch of this.
Hi, Sian here for BBC Learning English. In this masterclass, we're going to look at some differences between formal and informal English. Hey, how's it going? Good afternoon, how are you? Sometimes formal and informal can seem like two different languages. In the same way you wouldn't normally wear shorts and a t-shirt to a job interview, if you use language that's too formal or too informal, you can give a bad impression. Let's look at some differences between formal and informal English. Now, I received an email this morning. Have a look at this email. Do you think the language is formal or informal, and why?
Dear Mrs. Brown, I'm writing to find out whether you have any jobs in your company this summer. At the Mo, I'm studying economics at uni. I've been working part-time in a shop, and recently they promoted me to the role of manager. I'm enthusiastic, I work hard, I pay attention to detail.
Okay, so that email used informal language, and it's too informal for this style of letter. We're going to look at 4 features that make this informal, and we're going to change it to make it more formal. Number 1, choice of vocabulary. In informal English, we use more common words and more phrasal verbs. For example, here we have a phrasal verb, find out. It would be better to use a more formal equivalent like inquire. Same with jobs, this is quite informal. So instead, let's use vacancies here. Instead, we have, I'm writing to inquire whether you have any vacancies. Number 2, abbreviations. It's more common in informal language to use abbreviations, contractions, shortened forms of verbs. Let's have a look. So, here we have at the mo, which is short for at the moment. This is okay when you're speaking, but not when you're writing. Here we could use currently, which is even more formal. Same here, uni is short for university, so don't use this short form in a letter. Currently, I'm studying economics at university. Quite often, in formal language, we choose passive structures over active. Let's have a look here. The active sentence, they promoted me, is quite informal. We're much better to use a passive form here to make it more formal. I was promoted. So, recently, I was promoted to the role of manager. This doesn't mean don't use active structures in a formal letter, but have a think about whether the passive one is more appropriate. Finally, in informal English, short, simple sentences are much more common, whereas in formal English, we use more complex structures. Take a look at this one. Here we have 3 short, simple sentences, and this is fine in informal English, but in formal English, it's better to use a complex structure. We can do this by adding relative pronouns or linkers. For example, I'm an enthusiastic person who works hard and pays attention to detail. So, would you kindly visit our website? We're friends, that's too formal. Go to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, for more information about this and to practice formal and informal English. See you soon, goodbye.
Okay, so hopefully that gives quite an easy outlook as to what informal and formal writing is looking like, and I was just going to help you when you're in your discussion as well. Okay, so moving on to an example topic. Okay, so this has been taken from a previous speaking and listening assessment. So it is now used as sometimes a mock test. So this scenario is most people nowadays are keen to live a healthy lifestyle, which includes eating a healthy, balanced diet. Many food producers advertise their products as being healthy or being aware of what people want. However, this is often for commercial purposes, with the reality being that people still have an unhealthy diet. Okay, so this could be a potential scenario that you get in your assessment. And these are the sort of things that are then going to be kind of presented to you in the information that you're going to be given based on the scenario. So the topic or the question might be, a topic of conversation is how can people ensure they have a healthy diet, and what role can the food industry play in this? So you will already know this before you go into that assessment. This is what you then need to make those notes on. Okay, so as it says, the aim is then to discuss as a group to identify some factors for a healthy diet, and the main change that the food or changes that the food industry needs to increase healthy eating. So you kind of need to look at the question, and it's then your thoughts and your opinions on that question and what you think that they should do. So you may already have your own opinions on that. You may have no opinions. So it's then useful to obviously then use a bit of research and find some examples. So the first thing I would do is basically break up this question. Okay, so it's basically asking you two things in there. First of all, how can people ensure they have a healthy diet? What is a healthy diet? So you may or may not be aware of what a healthy diet is. So it depends on obviously your experience. If you're happy to then talk about what you feel it is, then great. You would just make your own notes. If you're not necessarily too sure, then that's where you would want to look at things, do a bit of research, Google what's a healthy diet, and you're going to get plenty of options come up. So you could talk about things like reducing fat intake. Obviously, reducing salt is really important, and basic things like eating less carbohydrates. If you're not burning those carbohydrates off, then that could lead to you putting on weight. So it's just some basic ideas that you would then jot down and be prepared with. How can then it be achieved? So how can a healthy diet be achieved? So first of all, highlighting what a healthy diet is, and then how are you actually going to get it healthy if it's not already. So you could look at facts like the government advised that we have 5 fruit and veg a day, or it's pretty basic that most people should know that you should drink at least 2 to 3 litres of water a day. So it's simple things like that that you would obviously want to contribute to the discussion and make notes on, and obviously have as a backup and as for you to then talk about. And you want to probably make as many suggestions or have as many notes down as you can, because if you only jot down 1 or 2 things and you don't get to talk first and someone else mentions those 2 things, you might then start getting a little panicky. So try and jot down as much as you can. So jot down first of all what's in your head and what you already know, and then do a bit of research and add a few more things in there. So once you've then established and you've got your notes on what a healthy diet is and how it can be achieved, I would then look at the second part of it, of what can companies do? What can they do to obviously help or encourage people obviously having a healthier diet? So think simple things like obviously their advertising plays a massive role in it. So yeah, you know, some of their advertising can be quite sly. in terms of, you know, they advertise it as low calorie. So yeah, the calories on that particular product might be low. If you looked at the salt and the sugars, they actually might be really high. So is it healthy for you? Probably not. Just because they've put a low calorie on there, people automatically just read the low calorie bit, and they don't necessarily go into the breakdown of what else is in there. So it's actually not healthy for you. So it's definitely looking at examples. So you could use examples from certain companies, is what I would do, and I would give specific examples like the low calorie, etc., but then having other things in there, and also just knowing the basics about. So there's difference between sugars and calories. So you've got sugar content and you've got a calorific content. One may be higher and the other one may be lower. So it's just looking into the specifics. Okay. So just make sure you do the research, break down the question, and then make as many notes as possible is all I would advise. So you've got plenty of things to talk about, like I said, because other people could potentially bring up and have similar ideas. As long as you don't obviously panic if someone else has said the 2 things or the 3 things that you wanted to focus on, you can just pick up on that and you can just be like, yeah, I completely agree with your idea, and just add to it. So kind of, yeah, kind of reiterate what they've already said, but just make sure that you've got plenty of notes to then add a little bit more into there. Okay, so again, when you're in the discussion, it's obviously important to ask specific questions. So it is a discussion, so it's not just necessarily going to be, here's my opinion. You then want to be, here's my opinion, and then you want to move it forward. So you might want to then direct that at someone specific and say, what do you think? Or direct it at a group. So there's going to be certain questions that you, and the way you put your questions is going to be really important. So what I've done is I've just looked at some examples of how you can do this, and hopefully that will help you understand it a bit better. So unfortunately these aren't from YouTube, so I can't put them in this presentation, so I'll go straight to the website and we'll have a look at these examples. Okay, so this is using BBC Bite Size, which is actually a really good resource for you guys to log on and have a look through. It's got quite a few interactive stuff on there. So feel free in your own time. If you are struggling on anything or you want some extra resources, BBC Bite Size is really good. It's not just for GCSEs, it is for functional skills as well. Okay, so I'll show you this video. They were very short videos, so we'll have a look at this and then I'll recap.
Hi Mike, you all right?
Hi Holly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I work at an outdoor adventure facility for young people. I've been assigned a new group coming in, so before I can put the programme together, I'll find out all the information I need from my line manager, Mike. Just wanted to catch up with you about the new booking that's been put in.
Yes, we've got a sports academy coming to us in 2 weeks.
Do you know how old they are?
Yeah, they're aged 16 to 18.
And what are their learning objectives while they're here? The information from Mike is detailed, so I need to make sure I concentrate and listen carefully, and then I make notes of everything that Mike has told me. Just because we don't get a lot of these groups in, have you got any tips for the programme?
Yeah, so problem solving, any activities that will encourage them to work as a team.
When I'm taking a lot of detail, I need to make sure I actively listen, and if there's anything I don't understand, I need to clarify. I'll then summarise the main points to demonstrate my understanding. Just to go over a couple of the bits, they're a sports academy. They want teamwork, challenging activities, just to push them out the comfort zones, really.
Yeah, that's correct.
OK, thanks, Mike. I'll do the programme now and I'll let you know.
Brilliant. Keep me updated.
Will do. See you later.
Thank you.
Okay, so that video is focusing on asking the right questions. So making sure that your questions are open questions. Because if you ask someone a closed question, you're going to get a yes or no answer, and it's really hard to then get a discussion going. So making sure that you use open questions like how, why, what, and you will get more of a response. Obviously, listening is really important. If you're going to ask someone a question, if you're going to ask the group a question, you need to make sure that you listen to their response, so you can then build on that and then give your opinion or your idea on whatever their responses are. And obviously, making notes in that situation is obviously really important, because that helped her remember. And obviously for your in the actual assessment, there's no harm in, if someone else is talking, you could maybe jot down a couple of notes, because by the time if you've got two other people that's going to talk in front of you, by the time it then comes around to you, you may forget. So you could write down a couple of notes as well. So just have a look at the second video, looking at different types of language.
Craig,
Hey, Hal.
I was just wondering if you could give me a bit of advice on this group coming in.
Yeah, sure.
When I'm with my colleagues, we tend to use abbreviated terms and speak a lot more relaxed because we share a common knowledge. I was just wondering if there was anything in particular you thought that would be good on their programme, something like Zip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zip would be perfect for them, but switch it up a little bit. Give them like points games, team games and stuff.
We use jargon or language that people that aren't in the sports industry wouldn't necessarily understand, such as changing the zip wire to zip. Hello, is that Mrs. Chadwell? Hello, it's Holly calling. I'm just wanting to organise your programme for your upcoming visit. When I'm speaking to a client, however, I adopt a more formal tone and language. I identify myself, I make sure I'm always polite, I call them Mr. and Mrs, and I make sure that I always use the proper terms for the equipment. I was talking to a colleague and wondering whether you'd like something like zip wire on the programme. It's important to always remember who it is you're talking to. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that video, they're more focusing on the types of language, and obviously things like jargon and abbreviations and acronyms. Obviously, everybody does it in their own workplaces, and you all got different meanings and you shorten things. So it's just really important when you are in your English discussion that you try and use the full terms for everything. Even though everybody else is going to be working for a primary education group, you wouldn't want to necessarily say PEG, because the external assessor, obviously kind of looking at this and who is going to be auditing, will obviously then not know what that is. So just try and be aware of what you're saying and the terms and the of language that you're going to be using. And then we'll just look at the second lot of examples, so presenting information clearly. Okay, so this one is focused a little bit more on kind of a group. So it's just how that information is communicated.
As the line manager, it's my responsibility to make sure during the daily morning meeting, all the group leaders are aware of what's happening at the centre that day. Good morning, team. Morning. We have 3 groups arriving today, 2 of which are primary schools, 1 is a secondary school. Before the meeting, I will often prepare notes so I don't lose my trail of thought. I select only the essential information. One of the groups is bringing a young person who has a severe nut allergy. I speak slowly and clearly, emphasising keywords, trigger an allergic reaction. Because of the snowfall as well, some of the grounds are frozen, which means bushcraft has to be taken off programme. So I like to keep it fun. I may tell a joke or two to relax everyone. The weather today is going to be cold. There's going to be some snowfall, but that will be no problem for us. I'll ask if I've been clear enough, and I will give them the opportunity to clarify anything that I've asked or said. Does that make sense? Yeah. By talking clearly and persuasively, I've been able to present all the key information.
Okay, so presenting key information is obviously exactly what you want to do in your discussion. You want to present that key information that you have made notes on, that you've researched, and that is your ideas on the topic itself. So obviously being aware of the types of language that you're going to use, how to present that across, and yeah, just making sure you're getting everyone else involved. And there's no harm in chucking a bit of humour in there. Again, as you know, as long as it's suitable to what you're talking about. So the second video is looking at generally more communicating in groups.
So, any questions? Holly.
Yeah, I was just thinking that today with bushcraft being off the programme, that maybe we could put archery in instead. It is free all day, so we can use that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that myself, but a lot of the schools, since they've been here, have already done archery on their programs that they have right now. Just thinking maybe fencing would be a little bit more of a follow-on for the target sports area, and that way no one's repeating.
Good idea. Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
We all take our turn to make suggestions. Mike then checks that the group as a whole understands and agrees before moving on with the discussion. We don't want to sit around talking through lots of options that would take longer to resolve.
Okay, so again, it's just really good example of moving discussions along and listening to other people's opinions. So yeah, there was obviously 2 colleagues in there that had a couple of different opinions and different ideas. However, neither of them spoke over each other. They both listened to each other, and then obviously the manager then checked that everybody else was happy with obviously their suggestions, which is generally what's going to happen in your discussion on the day. So we will just go back to the presentation. Okay, so hopefully that's given you some examples of what sort of language you can use, what sort of questions you can use, and obviously how you need to present the information clearly. And I know that you guys are going to do it all the time anyway, because you're going to be communicating with the kids in your lessons, in your activity groups. So you're going to be really good at presenting clearly and speaking clearly. So it's just making sure that you adapt that to obviously the specific topic that you've got in your assessment. So just another video based on opinions during discussions and how you can just rephrase things or reword things and how what is obviously then beneficial for the examination.
Hi. In a speaking exam, you may be asked to share an opinion or have a discussion with a partner about a topic. In this video, we'll have a look at how to express your opinions and how you can agree or disagree with someone else's point of view. Let's have a look at some phrases you can use to express your opinions. Some good phrases to use for expressing your opinion are I think, I believe, I like, and in my opinion. For example, if you were talking to your friend about movies, you might say, I think action movies are the best. You can also express yourself with the negative forms of these phrases. I don't like horror movies, or I don't believe the world needs any more Transformers films, are good examples of sentences to express opinion. Do you want to make your statement stronger? You can use adverbs and adjectives to do this. Instead of I believe or in my opinion, you can use I strongly believe or in my honest opinion. Adverbs and adjectives are useful for showing you're serious about a topic. As well as expressing your opinion, it is a good conversation skill to ask about other people's opinions. Phrases like, what do you think about? And how do you feel about? Are good questions to keep a conversation going. You might ask someone, what's your opinion on climate change? Or use a question after you make a statement. I think the blue jacket is the nicest. What do you think? Knowing how to agree and disagree with someone else's opinion is just as valuable as being able to express your own opinion. You can use short statements to show you feel the same as the speaker. For example, if a friend says, I think football is more fun than tennis, you could respond with, I agree, or that's right, or me too. You can disagree with a statement in a similar way. You could say, that's not right, I don't think that's very good, or simply, I disagree. If you have mixed feelings on an issue, you can use a more neutral phrase. For example, I'm not sure about that, or I partly agree with you. It's normal to explain your opinions as part of a discussion. If your friend says, I think the Learn English Teens channel is great, don't just respond with your opinion alone, use a statement to justify it. You could say, me too, they have amazing presenters. Or, I agree, it's way more interesting than reading textbooks.
Okay, so hopefully that's again another video just to clarify what sort of wording you're going to use and how you can obviously get your meaning across, and how you're actually going to agree or disagree with someone, really, and put it into a sentence rather than just like, nah, I disagree. So it just needs to be expressed in a particular way. So how are you going to prepare for your assessment? If you're anyone that is worried about having a discussion, obviously maybe with two or three people that you've never met before, then if you're feeling worried or anxious about it, and you want to see one in progress just to kind of see how it goes and how it flows and how to kind of just see what to expect, really. If you go to YouTube and search for Edexcel Functional Skills English, there'll be plenty of videos on there. So there's some really good examples. Some of them are like 15-20 minutes long, so obviously that's how long some of the discussions have taken previously. So they're not something that I would put in this particular presentation. However, they're really good for you guys to have a look at and see if see how it goes, and you probably even pick up on things that that could have been improved, and it will help you just to prepare for the actual assessment, because obviously until you get the topic itself, there's only so much you can prepare. But as long as you're confident with how you're going to prepare and what to expect, then that's what you can do. Okay, so last video just on top tips of what you can do during your exam.
Hi. So you've done all your preparation and practiced your English a lot, and now you want to know what you can do during the exam. Here are 5 tips to help you get the best mark in your next speaking exam. Number 1, remember, it's not a race, so slow down. Before you speak, think carefully about what you want to say and speak a little slower than normal. Number 2, if you don't understand the question or the activity, don't worry. Ask the examiner to explain it again. You can say something like, "Could you repeat that, please?" Number 3, when you're asked a question, don't just say yes or no as your answer. The examiner wants to know how good your English is, so try to explain your answer with a reason. Say, "Yes, I agree because," or "No, I don't think so because." Number 4, look at the examiner's or other students' faces and eyes when you speak. Faces can tell you a lot. If you see that the examiner or your partner don't understand you, then say it again using different words. And finally, number 5, speak clearly so that the examiner can hear you. If you find this difficult, practice with a friend at home. Stand at opposite ends of a room and speak to each other in English. Or speak to each other in English online or on the phone. Okay, so these are our top 5 tips. But just one final piece of advice. Your teacher or examiner are only human, and usually they will really want you to do well. So, take a deep breath, smile, relax, and good luck on your next speaking exam.
Okay, so yeah, I mean it's basically reinforcing what we've gone through earlier on in the week in terms of your presentation part. But yeah, some of the main aspects which is going to help in your presentation as well. Take your time and that eye contact. So obviously, as well as the being prepared, etc. So there will be a mock test involved. So you will be completing a mock test at some point to obviously ensure that you're fully prepared and you're happy and you know what to The reasons for this is obviously to, one, make sure that you're in an appropriate environment. As I mentioned the other day, in the current situation, it is more than likely that the online approach, using the Teams app, and having videos on and obviously microphones on, is going to be the most appropriate approach to be able to do these assessments, as none of us can see each other face to face. I need to make sure that you guys can access an appropriate environment, whether that's in the bedroom or an office at home or a room that can be locked, not locked as such, but obviously a door that can be shut so you are away from the rest of the family, just somewhere quiet. So one, it's just to make sure that that is an appropriate environment for you. Also, to make sure that you're happy with whatever technology you've got, whether you're using an iPad, a laptop, your phone. It's just to make sure that whatever source of technology that you're going to use, that you're happy with how it works and you're happy with how Teams works, and that there are no surprises on the day, on the real assessment, and to help with your confidence. So not only do I need to know that you're ready for your assessment, but it's going to help you to have a practice and a run through. It'll just relax you a little bit, so you are fully prepared for the actual assessment day. So my question to you is, I'm more than happy for the mock tests to be quite broad topics, but what I'd like to know is what topics you guys would like. So yeah, some ideas of some topics would be nice. So a little bit of input from you. So if you can have a think about that, and we'll have a discussion at the end. But yeah, what topics would you like to talk about in the discussion? Again, I'd quite like to make it relatable to maybe your job role, if you can think of something that is quite beneficial for everyone, or what everyone's going to kind of be aware of. Or it doesn't have to be anything to do with your job, it can be literally anything. But yeah, some ideas would be good. So in terms of today's session, we'll do the usual quiz. So obviously, Chantal, I know that you've got access to the quiz. So if you want to log on to the quiz, and for you, it'll just be a bit of a beat the clock, really, and see if you can get all the answers right, obviously, because you won't be playing against anyone. I would play against you, but that's a bit unfair. So your pin for today is 53884, and we'll see how many you can get correct. Excellent. So we'll get started straight away. Okay, so question 1, what is the minimum number of learners in a discussion? Excellent, spot on. Oh yeah, you'd have definitely been quickest then. That was well quick, well done. True or false? Your topic will be chosen for you. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so the exam board will be the ones that decide on the topic. Obviously, as I've just said, the mock test, I'm happy for you guys to have some input into that, so I'll ask you in a bit what your thoughts on that are. But yeah, in terms of the real assessment, it will be chosen by the exam board. Okay, question 3. What should you avoid in the discussion? Yeah, spot on. So you definitely want to be expressing your own opinions. You definitely want to be using effective language, and you definitely want to be making constructive contributions, but you certainly don't want to be interrupting others. If you do accidentally, and especially if it was face to face, it's got to be less probably likely. However, when it's going to be on a video call, it might happen. So if it does accidentally happen, then obviously just maybe stop talking and just be like, oh, I'm really sorry, you want to go first. So yeah, don't worry if it does, because obviously we are going to be slightly adapting to current situation. So if it does happen, just apologise and move on. Okay, which of the following is formal language? Yeah, spot on, well done. So that was pretty obvious as to which one is the formal language. Again, it's just putting things into more of a sentence and not using kind of shorter shortcuts in how you're asking if someone is okay. Okay, last question. Why are you required to complete a mock test? Yeah, spot on. So a few silly answers in there, but yeah, it's exactly so you know what to expect. It's to prepare you, it's to make sure I know that you're fully prepared. And it's to make sure that you've had that experience, and that main aspect is, for me, I know that you guys are obviously good at communicating and you must do that really well to be in the position that you're in. However, in terms of the assessment, some people get really nervous in assessments, so I want to know if that's going to be a factor, and also just to make sure that you're happy with the process, and in the main thing is obviously going to be the technology if we're going to be doing it online, and just to make sure that that is suitable and you know how to use it. Okay, so well done. I think you won that quiz. So slightly different in terms of what I'm going to do to get you to practice on this one. So with this one, the BBC Bite Size links that I had earlier, they like I said, it was a really good resource to use, but you can either watch the ones that I went through earlier, or you can, if I just show you, basically it takes you to this page, which is your English level 1 and 2. So what I mean is just there's a few different topics. So obviously today I went through the sport and leisure one. If you want to go through that, there's a video and then it asks you questions underneath it. There's also a childcare one, whatever one you know you're most relatable to. It's entirely up to you. Just click on there, have a go at it, and then do a screenshot of your answers, because it won't give you a generated answer or anything, but you will be able to see if you've got it right or not. So just do a screenshot, pop it in an email so I can see you've had a go at it. So yeah, watch your videos, and then email me over the screenshot. That'd be great. So, any questions on today's session?
Don't think so.
Excellent, that's good to hear. So I'm just going to stop the recording. Thank you very much for today, and then we'll just see what your ideas are in terms of the mock test ideas.